Hey, what's going on, Orbiters? Welcome to the stream tonight. It's December. That's just nuts. It's absolutely insane. And I cannot believe that we blew through November like it was 3 days. I think that's about how it felt to me. Hopefully you guys are doing well this evening. Maybe it's morning where you're at. If you're tuning in and you're from around the world, that is not where I'm from, then welcome, and let me know what time of day it is in the chat, because I would love to know where you guys are viewing from. So anyway, yeah, welcome to the Orbital Alliance YouTube channel. This is week 3 of our live stream. This is the 3rd week in a row that we've got to do this. I've really been excited to push on this button and to just have some weekly content that's consistent and is just encouraging discussion and learning about space, which is what this whole YouTube channel is about. So if this is the first time you've ever watched anything from the Orbital Alliance YouTube channel, that's why we are here. It's to make sure that everybody is learning about space so that one day you can go to space, because that's what I want to do. I want to go to space, and I figure the best way to get there is to keep learning every single day. So hopefully you guys are excited about tonight, because we're going to talk about astrophotography. We're going to talk about what it means to take photos of the night sky and all the things in it. So get prepared. You don't need to know anything about astrophotography, and I'll even go as far as saying you don't even need to know anything about astronomy to be a part of tonight's discussion. That's totally okay. We're going to just hang out. I'm going to kind of talk about the basics of astrophotography, and then I'll show you some of my space photos that I've taken over the years, and I'll explain a little bit about my journey. And I am certainly no expert. I'm capable of doing the hobby, but there are so many people out there who are way better at astrophotography than I am. So I can even refer to you guys to some of those people on social media, so you can see some of the amazing things that people are doing out there in the world with astrophotography. So, hey, what's up, Ron? Thank you for watching. It's good to see you on here. Same time as me. Yes. That's awesome. Yeah. Ron is a local. Yeah. What's up, Josh? What's up, nerd? Back to you. We are all nerds here. That's for sure. Yeah, great. So, anyway, how are you guys doing? Let me know what you guys are, what are you up to tonight? What's, I mean, obviously you're watching this, but like, what's on the agenda afterwards? You guys gonna watch some space movies, go out and look at the night sky? Actually, it's probably not going to happen here in northern Illinois, because it's cloudy right now, or at least it was when I walked my dog at about 5:45 p.m. So, yeah, maybe no dice there with the night sky viewing. But let's see. Let me just kind of open up some of the chat here. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of just give some channel updates really quick, and then I'll hop into not local, but like global space news, and we'll talk about some bullet points there, like what's happened in space, in the space world this week, and then we'll get into the astrophotography stuff. And then at the end of the stream, what I always do, is what I try to do, is to give you guys some homework. And this does not mean I'm going to check your completion next week or not. This is just up to you. It's if you want to do additional things that help you grow and learn and be surrounded by space stuff. So I'll be given that. I usually recommend a book, a movie, and some music. That's all space themed. or at least some way, some types of media that you guys can like surround yourselves with and kind of live in. These are typically things that I've enjoyed, and I hope that you guys would enjoy or benefit from as well. So stick around to the very end of the stream. Typically we go about an hour or so. So we start at 8 p.m. every Wednesday night, and we will typically go until 9 p.m., maybe a little after. I think we've run a little bit longer than an hour each week. So that's about what you can expect. So stick around to the end to get your homework, and you guys can learn about some recommendations for space media. Yeah, cool. So let's see here. Pardon me for a moment. Got some questions coming in already. That's awesome. Thank you, Josh. Which planet is the most photogenic when photographed from Earth? Oh my goodness. Yeah, we'll just kind of do a little bit of a preview here. That's a tough one. I mean, I think is the correct word subjective. I think it's down to the individual to determine that. But I would say it's probably a toss-up between Jupiter and Saturn. Saturn, because the rings are just unbelievable, and no other planet has rings like it. I'm not saying no other planet has rings, because that's not true, but no other planet has rings like Saturn. It's probably going to be Saturn. I'll just give my answer as Saturn. But Jupiter is pretty remarkable just because of its scale and the fact that you can see it has some huge moons, and you can see some of its moons too. So I would do that. And then, oh yeah, which Funko is tonight's showcase? So if you're new to the stream, welcome again. And just a fun thing that I do is I'm a big collector of Funko Pops. I've got a bunch behind me here, and so far in each stream, this is the third week, I have featured a specific Funko, a different Funko Pop figure, and I should probably pick one for tonight to please the crowd that is knocking down the door here. So let's take a look. Oh, I know. Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to feature, this is Leonardo Da Vinci, the man himself. I'm going to hold him a little bit better there. He's got his paintbrushes and I think a little like parchment or a piece of paper there. Pretty typical for him. This is later life Leonardo Da Vinci. Beautiful Funko Pop. I love it. But I love Da Vinci and the things he represented in a lot of ways. I have been loosely on and off reading a biography about him, and it's been really, really interesting to learn just how this guy thought. But Josh, who's watching the stream, sent me this Funko. Thank you very much. I actually can probably attribute many of these Funkos to my friend Josh, who we send Funkos back and forth just for fun. So thank you, Josh, for this. And yeah, I think Da Vinci represents wonder and curiosity and science, but also this like massive combination of science and art, which is something that I really resonate with, because I may not be an astrophysicist or anything like that, but I love astronomy, I love physics, I love science, and I'm probably more on the artist side, but I love mashing the two together. And that's actually kind of perfect for tonight, because astrophotography is this sort of hybrid hobby or art form that's like science and art mixed together. So actually this is the perfect Funko to represent tonight. So yeah, we're going with Da Vinci. Oh, Ron Colson. Yeah, first night of Xmas beer calendar. That's right. I saw that on Facebook. Yeah, there's an advent calendar you had. Each one is a different beer. That's pretty impressive. Kayla, Funko. Yeah. I love it. Great. So let's see here. I was going to go on to, oh yeah, channel news. So, yeah, first of all, something we hit a milestone 2 weeks ago on the very first stream, and I forgot to celebrate it because it was right at the end. We broke 200 subscribers on the channel, and I know that's like nothing compared to most channels out there. Even some channels who do almost nothing, and they have 1,000 times more subscribers than I do. I don't care. What I do care about is that we're taking ground on the channel and we're moving forward, which is so cool. And this is the highest number of subs I've had on any channel that I've ever run, which is just a personal milestone. And I want to thank you guys, those of you who are subscribed, and encourage you to continue to share the content from the channel with other people that who might like to learn about space, or to just kind of be like, encouraged or to pursue a different way to learn about space. So yeah, if that's the case, you find those people, I would encourage you to have them subscribe and join in the alliance to become a part of it and to contribute to it so that we can all grow and learn together. So thank you for joining us and subscribing. If you are watching right now and you're not subscribed, I would love to ask if you would consider subscribing. It would be really helpful, and we can continue moving that train further down the tracks. That'd be amazing. But I was just celebrating that little milestone. I think it's huge, and I think we're at 206 as of now. I'm not sure. Maybe I could check. Maybe we've gotten some more since we've last checked. Still at 206. Yes, which is just fine. But yeah, so it's been a good thing. Another update for the channel too. I've been talking a lot about the Yerkes Observatory video that I've been working on, and I have just been working my tail off trying to get this thing off the ground, and we are this close to getting it done. I pushed a huge amount of hours this week to try and wrap up some of the final touches to it. I've been really grinding to try and trim it down. It currently stands at about 21 minutes when it's all said and done at the end of the timeline. And I have just shipped it off to the guy that does post-production audio for videos. And I'm going to have this guy clean up some of the audio because there's some segments in there where it's hard to understand what's going on. And he's going to balance it all out, clean it up, and then ship it back. And then I can give it one final review, and then I'll give it the A-OK to post it live. So this actually is way ahead of schedule. I wasn't planning on that, but it is increased. The time is, the time has decreased than I thought. I thought maybe it wouldn't be until about mid-December at this point where it would go live, but that's not true. If I can get the video tightened up by the end of the week, I will try my best to do it on Friday, maybe this weekend, Saturday or Sunday, if all goes well, at the latest early next week. But that's still ahead of what I was thinking. I was thinking December 8th to 10th or somewhere after that. So get excited for that, because I think I've done a good job to tell a story in there that you guys will find interesting and captivating. And it's just one of those labors of love that I'm just ready to pass on and not think about anymore, because I'm just too excited. So, so be on the lookout for that. I was considering showing you guys a little preview here of this too. I could. Let me just show you this here. Let me show you. Yeah. Let me just close out some stuff. I'm gonna open Premiere here. I'm gonna share my full screen here. This is a different look. Just make sure this is okay. I think we should be on the full screen here. This is let me just open up OBS here. Yep, there we go. Sweet. Here's Adobe Premiere where I edit my videos. And actually, let me double check that we got audio here, desktop audio. I'm gonna unmute it. Great. So here's the project that I've been editing. Down here in the bottom section is the timeline. Hopefully you guys can see that. All these little blocks here are the video, all the different colors, all representative of the different audio clips, graphics, music, video clips, everything that I've put together. So from the left side over here to the right side on this other side is 21 minutes and a timeline, and this is it. So maybe I'll just throw you a few seconds of this interview that I did with the director of Yerkes Observatory. So hats off to you guys for tuning into the stream and getting a little bit of a preview of something coming down the line. So hopefully the audio comes through. I did test this earlier and it worked, but we'll find out. So I'll just play a few minutes or less, maybe even just a few seconds, and you guys can enjoy it. So here we go. Dennis, if you can give me sort of the 60-second rundown, what is the history of the Yerkes Observatory?
Well, I think as you're showing everyone in your video and sort of as you're touring around, it is this amazing architectural confection of a building built at the end of the century. So 1895-ish was when the building was built. The telescope, the big one that's behind us, saw first light in 1897. And it was built by the University of Chicago. So this was sort of the era when, if you were a serious research university, you had to basically build an observatory. Yeah. The University of Chicago located it up here. We're actually standing in Wisconsin, obviously, not in Illinois. Right. For a couple reasons. One was Chicago at that time was just full of coal, soot, and pollution. So it wasn't so much light pollution issues, it was actual pollution issues. You couldn't see through the haze. Two, the Great Chicago Fire had happened not long before, and so they wanted to get the observatory out of the city. Their donor wanted it out of the city, Yerkes, it's named after Mr. Charles Yerkes, and their donors as a university were up here around Lake Geneva. This just made sense as a location, so they had a rail line up here. They decided to put it up here, got it built, and after seeing first light in 1897, for a brief period, it was the largest telescope and the largest observatory in the world. It's still the largest refracting telescope in the world, which, as we were saying, is a little bit like saying my car's got the best steam engine ever made. It's old tech, but still kind of cool.
All right. Hopefully you guys could hear that. It was a little quiet, at least on my end. So maybe that will go through. But I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of a preview. That man there again is Dennis Coyce. He's the executive director of Yerkes Observatory in Williams Bay / Lake Geneva area in Wisconsin, and I did get to interview him, and that was just a taste of that section. I think it's probably about 8 minutes of an interview with him. And funny story, we'd booked a day to go out there to shoot this, and I was expecting to have hours, of being touring around this building with someone who was knowledgeable of the facility. And when we arrived there, Dennis was like, "I'm so sorry, I have 30 minutes. There's construction meetings that came up and I have to be at them. So from right now, we've got 30 minutes. And I was like, well, I've got all my stuff in the car. We still have to bring it all in, all my equipment. So we rushed, grabbed that in. By the time we got the interview set up, the equipment ready, we had like less than 10 minutes to interview him before he had to go. So we like jammed this interview out, and I toured the building myself. He let us like kind of tour it ourselves and figure it out. So it still turned out really well, but it's a much shorter interview than I was hoping for, but that just leaves room for part 2. So yeah, really cool. So hope you guys enjoyed that little preview. Again, you guys get the sneak peek because you're here on the stream on Wednesday night. And appreciate those of you guys who have been showing up every single week. That's really amazing. Really appreciate that. Josh is asking, unrelated note, is that a Portal game turret behind you, or am I crazy? Never mind, I think I'm crazy. No, you are not. That is indeed a Portal turret. Right up here. Right next to the Ghost from Destiny. But that is a Portal turret. It's actually a desktop Defender, I think, or something. I got it years ago. It's got a USB cable, you can plug it in, and it basically is like, it has motion sensor, like infrared on it, and if you walk in front of it, the little guns pop out and it makes a bunch of noise, and it's like, I see you, and it starts shooting. It's like the corniest desktop toy ever, but it's pretty cool. I do love Portal. Portal is awesome. I haven't played it in a long time, but I do like Portal turrets. I think they're really cool. Little features from that. So yeah, anyway, so if you are just tuning in, thank you so much for watching. This is the live stream on the Orbital Alliance YouTube channel, and we're grateful for you being here. Just to give you another little bit of a plug, this channel is for those of you who want to learn about space, and we talk about all different kinds of things, general space topics, space news. Tonight we're talking about astrophotography, which means taking pictures of space and objects in it. And we would love it if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Orbital Alliance. I'm gonna just throw my screen up here, and just remind you that by subscribing, you won't miss a single video. You'll have all these videos as they come out, show up right in your news feed. And if you ring the notification bell on any of these videos, you will be reminded directly to your device with a notification that, hey, we're live, or hey, there's a new video on the Orbital Alliance. Don't miss a single one. Would love to have you join the Alliance, and all you have to do is subscribe. Cool. So let's talk space news. Let's get into it. What happened this past week? There's been some things, nothing too crazy. I feel like the past few weeks have been pretty eventful. This one is a little bit slower, but nonetheless, space stuff. So for those of you who know what the Inspiration 4 mission was, back in September, there was a businessman, Jared Isaacman. He is a billionaire, and he wanted to do a fundraiser for St. Jude, created a mission. He partnered with SpaceX to create a mission where he would bring other people who represented pillars of value towards this fundraising opportunity, like generosity and entrepreneurship, I think. I'm forgetting the names exactly, but They were able to launch 4 people, himself included, into space on a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule. Flew around the world for 3 days straight and came back down. It was successful. It was amazing. Really, really loved that mission and everything it stood for. And all the people were great. In particular, the one was a cancer survivor. I think she's 29. She's just a little bit younger than I am. And Haley Arsenault was her name. And she knew nothing about space, like didn't really like have any investment in it. And she got invited onto this mission to represent cancer survivors and to show that it's possible to go, that your dreams can, be fulfilled, so to speak, regardless of, maybe your past, your medical history. She's a child cancer survivor. She has a prosthetic in her leg, which is also a first. She was the first person to ever go to space with a prosthetic limb. Amazing. Well, some of the news from this week is that Haley Arsenault just announced today that she is now working for SpaceX. She works for St. Jude Hospital. She's a is it a physician assistant or something? I can't remember. There's a specific term for her role, and I'm forgetting exactly what it was. But she's remarkable. She now gives back to the patients who are their younger patients. So she went through it herself, being a cancer survivor and a child cancer patient. She went into her mission and she's been cancer free, and now she's able to like give back to those kids by serving them in her position, which is awesome. But now she also has now a second job at SpaceX as a medical officer, which is what she was trained to do for her mission, was to represent the medical officer position on the ship, which was awesome. And I keep saying awesome, sorry. But yeah, I think it's really huge news that she's able to partner with that. It just shows what people are becoming when they go from citizens, plain old ordinary citizens, to astronauts, flown astronauts. The opportunities change, and the landscape changes, I think, for SpaceX, who now can continue to fly people, now are going to be able to kind of soak up these astronauts and help them better prepare people who are now going to go to space after them. It's kind of this like pyramid, if you will, that kind of just keeps growing wider and wider. More people go to space, more people become knowledgeable and experienced, and then those people are able to help prepare the next crowd, which gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So Haley is representing an exclusive group right now, which will very quickly become less exclusive, which is a very good thing. The democratization of space is coming. So I think that's really exciting. Way to go, Haley. I just saw there was a Time magazine issue, a special issue for the mission, had them on the cover. I didn't buy it and I keep regretting it, but it came out a couple months ago in the fall, around the time of the mission in September, I think. And I happened to still see one of those at our local grocery store maybe a few days ago. And I had been following that mission so closely. When I walked past that catalog or the magazine, I was like, oh, hey, there's my friends. Like, I know them, like, I don't know any of these other celebrities on the magazine rack at the store, but I know them, and I know them well enough. I watched their documentary on Netflix, and I've been following them on social media. I know everything about what's going on with them. Like, those are my friends. But then I had to have a realization moment that I don't actually know them, but I would like to. I think they're all great people, and they've done a really amazing things. So anyway, yeah, way to go, Haley. And we're watching you from afar. Would love to meet you and the rest of the Inspiration 4 crew someday. And I would also hope that there is a second mission coming on the pipe. There's been no announcements, but I think there's probably gonna be something in the future. Cool. Next, let me just check the chat here. Oh, we got some chats. Josh, can a person take an actual quality picture of any nebula from Earth? Yeah, let's, that's a great question, and I will answer it in a little bit. Any amateur, yeah, okay. I'll take that question in a little bit. We're talking about astrophotography. I'll come back around to that. Kayla, thank you so much for getting the pillars of the mission: leadership, hope, generosity, and prosperity. So Jared, who ran the mission, was leadership. Hope was Haley. Generosity was a man named Chris Zimbrowski. I think that's how you pronounce it. He was kind of just participated in the fundraiser, and he was picked. And prosperity, which was Cyan Proctor, Dr. Cyan Proctor, and she created a like an entrepreneurship opportunity, and they picked her out of a whole bunch of people who proposed business ideas. Really cool. I cheated and got it from the website, hence all caps. That's okay. You were not knocked. If anything, you had more points for putting in all caps regardless. So well done. Really appreciate the throw there. Cool. So yeah, great. Next news point. Keep it moving. Okay, so there's a commercial spaceflight company called Rocket Lab. I think they're based in the United States, but I think they launch and operate out of New Zealand. I know the CEO, Peter Beck, is a Kiwi, if that's the correct word. I believe that's the slang term for a New Zealander. I hope it's not offensive. I apologize if I offended anybody right there, but I'm pretty sure that's it's not quite a. I think it's more of a playful term. But Peter Beck is a really up and coming successful entrepreneur, and Rocket Lab is pushing the boundaries of reusable rockets. They're kind of on the trail of SpaceX and Elon Musk. I think they're doing all the right things and trying and failing and trying again and so on. But they have a huge announcement tomorrow. Nobody knows what it is. There's a lot of speculation. But I think it's surrounding Neutron, their newest rocket. They've been launching the Electron rocket, which is smaller to launch satellites into space, but Neutron's going to be bigger. And my guess, it's going to be highly reusable, maybe human rated, that sort of thing. I think they're going to push the boundaries. So tomorrow, Rocket Lab is making an announcement about Neutron, their new rocket, and I'm very excited to hear all about what that is going to be. Cool. And then next, this is a little more serious. I think last week we talked about the space debris problem. There's been a lot of news about space debris. Russia blew up a satellite to test anti-satellite rocket, like missile technology, and posed a threat to the space station and everyone on it, including Russians. It was a terrible scenario. But now there's been a lot of finger pointing from all the governments around the world, all the agencies. Well, you did this. Well, we're doing that, and so on. It's been really messy and political, and I really don't like it. It's been annoying. Not helpful at all, in the space world. People just need to work the problems, solve them, and move on. Reverting to 1960s, what's the word? like methods is just not, it's not good. But they did cancel a spacewalk. This was to happen. 2 American astronauts were supposed to go out on the space station to replace an antenna, and they canceled that right beforehand because they're like, hey, there's more debris that could pose a threat. And I was reading something on Twitter. It's like, hey, this space station, and I think Elon Musk said it, the space station and their ships have shielding from micro meteorites, or micro debris, which is fine. But EVA suits, or the space suits that people go out in, do not have shielding. If they got struck by a meteorite, it'd be fatal in probably every way. So they played it safe and they canceled it. And it's just who's to say that there won't be more of these cancellations in the future. It's kind of made it very messy. And I don't know where that meteorite was from, or the little debris piece, but I keep calling it a meteorite. Those are two different things. But this bit of space debris, I don't know if that was from the Russian capsule or the explosion or not, but regardless, it's just dangerous, and nobody should have to die in space. As long as you're doing your homework and doing whatever you can to protect each other, then you're good. So yeah, that's been crazy, and hopefully there are no bad news elements in the next couple of weeks regarding this, and they're able to work the problem out. So that's all I got for space news. Let me throw it back here. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, we got a little bit of a smaller crowd this week, but that's okay. I figure as we're going on, it's going to take a little bit of a dip, and then as we continue to push out more content over the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll see a little bit of a rise in viewership. So again, thank you, those of you who are sticking around on the stream, sitting through my yammering in my chat. It's super fun to just kind of ramble about space and talk about it, just to make this time every week to go on. So if you are just tuning in, thank you for watching. Welcome to the Orbital Alliance, where we just talk about space stuff. And we learn about space and enjoy sharing those things with other people. We stream every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. That's Central Time in the United States. And we'd love to see you every Wednesday night if you can. Cool. All right. A couple of exciting things coming up. I'm also debating testing some things out for the stream. Last 3 weeks have just been discussions. We've been talking and just kind of hanging out together, answering questions in the chat. I've had some kind of prepared topics to discuss. But some of the things I have in my head, I've mentioned before, I would love to have guest speakers on here, and I'll push that pretty hard in the future. I do need to work out some technical stuff and practice that. If I can, December, if I'm optimistic, later December, but the holidays are coming up. I might get busy. January for sure. It's definitely in my head to have that nailed down by January. I got to work out some schedule stuff with guests. I have some people in mind that I would love to get onto the stream. I think that would be a blast. The other thing I do want to try, and this might not appeal to absolutely everyone, so I might do a different time of day. I might just stream it at a different time. I would like to try some gaming streaming, where I pick games that are in space themed, space related, and play some video games online and just stream it for you guys. I know there's probably some folks out there who would enjoy that, and I would love to just kind of try some things and see what happens. So I am working on that. And hopefully there's some room in there and some viewership that comes with that. I would love to help you guys just get creative and have some wonder generated about your curiosity for space. But sometimes working through video games is a way to do that. That's certainly been the case for me. So I figured I'm not alone around that. If that's the case, leave a comment below or in the live chat. What video games would you want to see be played? Some space video games. I know for me instantly, I'm like, oh, Mass Effect. I mention that about every week. I love Mass Effect, and it's probably one of the coolest space games in existence. I know, Josh, you're a big No Man's Sky player, so maybe we got to play some No Man's Sky. Yeah, Josh, I volunteer as co-op gaming partner. Yeah, I mean, 100%. Let's get in there. We'll get the chat going. That'd be awesome. So yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Been thinking about that a lot. Sweet. Well, let's just get to the astrophotography jam here. Okay. Sorry, my phone just blew up. Make sure I wasn't missing an emergency. Getting scared. Oh, do you like this mug, guys? Ron, you should get one of these for your Merry Beermas. This is a Steinhaus beer mug from Steinhaus. I am not drinking beer though. This is water. I'm staying safe here on the channel here tonight, but I love this mug and I just like to use it for all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's from Marquette, Michigan, up in the UP, the upper part of Michigan. And we went there. I ran a 50K race up there in 2017, and we went to dinner in downtown Marquette, where we're like, where should we go? Oh, they have a German restaurant. Let's do it. And they had these mugs, and I think even before dinner was served, I asked the server how much those mugs cost and can I buy one? And they did. I think it was like $20 or something like that. $25, $30. I don't think it was any more than 30, but it is an amazing mug, and I am featuring it here on the stream. So if you're in Marquette or anywhere near, check out Steinhaus. They had great food and good vibes and even better mugs. Not sponsored, not an ad. Not sponsored by Steinhaus. Prost, ja. Ja, ich liebe mein Bier. Ja, Prost. And it's not beer. It's the beer mug. To be clear, it's still just water. Yeah, No Man's Sky, Josh. Good game. Elite Dangerous. I've not heard of that one. And KOTOR, yeah, Knights of the Republic. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, it's definitely created some planetary wonder in there. That would be a good one. Cool. Astrophotography. All right. So let's just talk about what that means. What does it mean to be an astrophotographer? What does it take to become an astrophotographer? So let's just define the term really quick. And we're just going to chat, and then later I'll get into some of the pictures I've taken. So if you're a photographer, you tend to have a niche, something you tend to focus on, get better at. Some people, it's wedding photos, some it's portraits, others landscape photography, street photography. It's kind of up to you. And not every aspect of photography is for everybody. I know for me, I dabbled in all kinds of stuff early on. I started becoming a photographer 2012. I took a class in 2011 in college and kind of learned the basics. And then from there on, I sort of jumped around. I did some weddings, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't enjoy this as much. I can do it, but excuse me, not really my thing. So I moved around, and my passion for space, of course, was ever vibrant in my life a couple years later. And after learning more and more and seeing what's up in the night sky, I was like, man, there's got to be a way to capture what I'm seeing. Did some learning on the internet, and sure enough, astrophotography exists. Or at least ways that consumers can do it. I feel like it was always exclusive to astronomers and these big observatories, and you have to be a PhD to even use these cameras and telescopes. That's not true. In the last 10 years, consumer level astrophotography or photography of the night sky is super easy to get into. You can even do it with your phone, technically, which is something that even a few years ago wasn't possible. Night shot, night photography, HDR shots, that stuff is all way more prevalent these days. But even if you have some equipment, you're better off. A tripod, a still camera, it's amazing. So I got into it probably about 2014, 2015, started taking my first shots with my iPhone 4S. They were really crummy, didn't really resolve anything. And then I stuck it on my telescope and started getting something. And that's kind of the initial sparks of the flint that, we fanned into a flame at that point. And then I got more curious. I'm like, how can I make this better? How can I make that better? How can I improve? What can I do next? And then year after year after year, I learned more about space, and then I bought some more gear. And sure enough, here I am today, a multi-year hobby astrophotographer, and I've taken pictures of the Milky Way, of the International Space Station, of the moon, of the sun, of the planets. It's been awesome, and I love it. It is my number one hobby, period. More than anything, I love it. It gets me so excited, and I know it's my number one hobby because I'm willing to do insane things to get the shot. And I would not do those same insane things for any other type of photography for the most part. I will make several exceptions for astrophotography. I'll stay up all night. I'll drive. I'll fly across the country. I'll do whatever it takes to get the right shot. I'll pay money for those chances. It's oh, hey, what's up, Greg? Sorry, I'm just gonna jump in here. Thanks for joining, man. I see we're jumped up to 5 viewers. We got 5 people with us right now. But welcome, Greg. Good to see you, man. Appreciate you making the time. You're a repeat viewer, so cheers to you, man. Oh wait, because you missed it a little while ago, but Prost. I'm drinking water out of my Steinhaus mug, and we were talking about German mugs. So cheers to you, Prost. So we're talking about astrophotography. Yeah. So initially I said I was taking pictures with my iPhone 4S, which was a really, really crummy way to do it because the camera sensors on those old phones were just miserable. I don't even know how I did it, but I did manage to take some shots. And then I realized I also had my still camera, my Canon 7D at the time, crop sensor camera, which is a little bit more like into the weeds with the camera jargon. But I realized, yeah, you can start taking pictures of stars. And I went out to a local park at night and just put the camera up. Didn't know anything about what settings to do. I just started taking pictures, and I remember seeing black and like a few points of light coming through, and I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. I finally took a picture of stars. I've never done that before, and I got really excited. And then just kept trying, kept looking up things and learning that, yeah, if you just have this type of settings and at this time of day and these right parameters, you actually get a half decent shot without even trying. Which is great. And I just kind of got hungry and more hungry for it. So yeah, you can do astrophotography with your phones. Now, as long as you have a tripod, tripods are way helpful. A lot of times what goes with photography is long duration exposures, meaning you open your camera shutter and you let the light sear in and create an image over time. And that requires totally still cameras, no movement, no bumps, no breathing, no shakes. Otherwise the image shakes and you get smears. You can do that. And cheap phone tripods, I'm sure they're 10, 15 bucks. Maybe you get even a cheaper one if you're lucky somewhere, some like really like crummy plastic one. But hey, as long as it stays still, you're fine. But more importantly, if you wanted to go for it, you could use a still photo camera like this. This is my Sony A7 III. This is kind of like a mid-range professional camera, maybe a mid-lower range professional camera. This is my primary photography camera and video camera. I shoot all my vlogs and everything on this. It's an amazing camera, and it's probably the best, like kind of lower end professional level one. Everything kind of below this is maybe a little bit more like prosumer, and then below that is kind of consumer. You start losing features as you go down. This kind of is like the first stage into having most of the features, and without going like way out of your way with spending money on it. So you can use these. You can use this is a mirrorless camera. You can use DSLRs or digital single lens reflex cameras, ones that are not mirrorless. And you can you can do all kinds of photography with that. So like I said, you can do Milky Way photography, wide field, like full frame, like full landscape photography of the night sky, and astrophotography. You can do really close-up stuff, like you can zoom super far in to get shots of planets that are, super tiny in the sky. You can do deep sky shots, which are nebula and galaxies and star clusters. You can kind of do all sorts of things in that realm. You kind of pick your niche within the niche, and it's kind of up to where you are. So just like we were talking before, like you can do weddings or landscapes or portraits, or astrophotography. What's the subcategory you're into? And I think most astrophotographers dabble in just about all of it. But I know people who are really into deep sky imaging, those tiny, faint, faraway things, and they invest a ton of gear for just that kind of thing. Not so much the wide field. Hey, let's go get a landscape with the Milky Way. But then there's the other people who are the complete inverse, and there's some who are just space station photographers. Again, it's up to you. So if you're interested in any of that, you can kind of look at other people's photography and see what you like, and then see what you can try and what you want to try. Greg said, I started learning about the rule of thirds and using grid lines when taking shots. Yeah, rule of thirds. For those who don't know, in photography, there's sort of this general aesthetic. It's kind of an imagery basic, which is shots tend to be more interesting. They don't have to be. If you split your frame, like your picture, into thirds vertically and thirds horizontally, if you put your subject or an object in the ground, in the foreground or the background, on the line of the thirds, it tends to be more interesting. And it's true. Like, things just look nicer. And it's, for some reason, just mathematically, visually, interesting to look at, more than on the fourths or on a fifth or something like that. There's something about the thirds. It's a visual literacy basic. And it's really, really helpful to stick to, and you can put that on your camera to have those lines on there as guides. Really, really helpful. I love the rule of thirds and the guides that come with that, the grid lines that Greg is talking about here in the chat. But yeah, they're great, but you don't have to stick to them. You can get creative. You can do whatever you want with photography. But it's one of those things that is helpful if you're looking for, some structure. What's up, Ryan? Space. Is NASA hiding aliens? We hope so. I hope that NASA is hiding aliens. Let's get on with it. Let's gain their technology and move us along and stop us from being primitive people who would rather hurt each other than help each other. I think aliens have that stuff to make us better. So come on, NASA, I'm looking at you. Yeah, sweet. Well, thank you all for tuning in tonight. It's good to see you guys. Yeah, so astrophotography. So let's see where to go next. So yeah, you can use these. You can use your phone. This is a different type of camera you can use. I'm going to remove it here. This is an Astro imaging camera. In this case, it's a planetary imaging camera. It's like this little red disc with a little knob on the end here. And this is ZWO as a company. And I purchased this year in order to do better space station and planetary photography. There are different cameras. Some are bigger. This one's pretty small, like compared to my hand. You just drop this in your telescope, and then you plug in a USB cable into a laptop, and the laptop records what the camera is capturing. And it's all video. And then you go into post-production and you edit the video, and you pull out still frames to make photos, and you can combine them and do editing and make all your photos from there. So this is like a slightly more professional piece of equipment. Not that expensive. I think comparatively to this, when I got this camera, this was $2,000. When I got this one, $250. But the difference is the sensor, the camera sensor that's inside, totally different. They're made for different things. And this one is geared for astrophotography. And even though it's cheaper, it's going to serve you better. But it's also only for astrophotography. It's not like you can go out and, like, I guess you could technically use it somewhere else. It just wouldn't make any sense. You can't put a lens on it. It would still work, but it's kind of thing. You pay for the niche. This, you can use it on anything, even though it costs more. But I use this, for space station photography. I use it for planets, and it's been pretty cool. You do need a good laptop to work with this, so don't let that cheap price tag fool you. You do need to have a laptop that can handle the amount of data. It's all raw uncompressed video that comes in, and it's really, really big files. I think if you record for 5 minutes, it's like 30 gigabytes or more. It's a really huge video file that comes along with this. So you need a laptop that can handle that kind of data stream over time. And so you're probably already spending the equivalent of this just to have a laptop to support it. So that's the asterisk on that. Chat's blown up. Josh, that leads to the Reapers. Oh yeah, the aliens. I think that would lead to the Reapers. Maybe I was a little bit ambitious there. Don't discover the Prothean cache on Mars, right? Kayla asks if we can show the first picture you took of Saturn. Gosh, yeah, I'd have to dig on Facebook. That'd probably be the only place I can find it handily right now without pulling out an old drive. But let me look while I'm talking to you guys here. Something you can do with your camera too is to get your camera on a telescope. You can't just like stick it on there. You need an adapter. So I bought a whole series of tubes and rings and adapters. I'm even missing one here. I'm handily right now to get this on there. But you essentially, let me get it up close. You like just mount it to the front end. And then this has the 1.25 inch ring on the end for a telescope, and you just stick it in the telescope, and then you can get your image straight into your camera, which is pretty cool. So you need to buy some equipment to get this onto your telescope if you want to take pictures with it. That is, if you want to do like super close up telescopic imagery. Let me see. Pardon me as I kind of search here. Facebook has not also been friendly with like where they hide photos these days. I feel like they've become more and more in the background. Your photos, albums. Goodness. Hold on. Oops. Oh yeah, good question, Josh. What's the most difficult photo you've taken, or the smallest, most distant stellar object you've photographed? I'd say the most difficult has been the space station. It's also the easiest. Depends on the type of photo you're trying to get with the space station. But certain type of space station photography is definitely the hardest for me, at least. I think other people would say deep sky objects, but the most distant stellar object I photographed, it's probably planets. I haven't really gotten into deep sky stuff. I mean, stars kind of don't count because it's kind of like, what's the expression where you kind of just, you can shoot blindly and you'd hit something. I don't know. There's a phrase out there. Remind me if you guys think of it. Like you can get a star in almost any shot. It's not hard, but I think intentional shots like the Pleiades star cluster, we were just talking about that, Josh. That's out there and it's visible with your naked eye. So I've taken some photos of it and it's been okay. That's technically further than a planet. That might count, but I haven't done like really great still imaging of it. Planets, I've tried harder, and I think that's the case. So Saturn, I've seen Uranus. I have not, with my eye, I've not taken pictures of any of those farther planets, Uranus, Neptune. You can't image Pluto. It's just too small and too far away. You might see a dot if you're lucky and you have the right gear for it. But yeah, so those are probably the things I can think of. Let me continue searching here. I know I've got some astrophotography on my Facebook. Let me see here. There's an early one. What other questions do you guys have in the chat? I don't want to keep it boring here, but while I'm searching, let me know. Greg, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. That's perfect. Yeah, amen to that. That's exactly right. Let's see here. There are some really goofy pictures here on Facebook. That is funny. Here's an early space station photo I took. This is maybe not quite. There we go. Size it up here so you guys can see. This isn't Saturn, but I do have that somewhere. I gotta find it. But this has the Pleiades in it, so hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah, so the Pleiades there, and then this is the International Space Station. It's a streak, but this is before I owned a remote for my camera shutter, and it as you can see a little tail end here. That's from Camera Shake. I was talking about Camera Shake and having things be smooth. It helps to, have the right things for that. But the Pleiades here, I've imaged that in the background. But the problem is I have too long of an exposure and the stars start moving because the Earth is rotating. So you got streaks for the stars. They're not sharp points. But that's also what happens when you take a long exposure to capture the space station, making a streak. So, yeah, there's just an early photography thing where I've learned a lot about, capturing stuff. Since then, gosh, when was that? That's probably 2015, 2016, April 2016. Been a few years. Let's see here. What's the best object for beginners to start with? For astrophotography, that's a good question. Probably, the moon. The moon is just so reliable, and of course, other than clouds and weather, it's just always going to be there. It always puts on a show, and an average moon cycle around the Earth is about 27 days. So every day of the week, it's going to look just different enough to where your photo from yesterday will look different from the photo you take tomorrow, and so on for the whole month. There's like a few days where you can't take a picture of it because it's too close to the sun and you physically can't see it, unless there's an eclipse. Then you can see it. Yeah, so I would say the moon, because you can practice on some of those like just sliver moons, and then that's a very different type of picture from taking a full moon image. There's a big difference in light, because the sliver moons are like super dim and really low in the sky because they're so close to the sun at that point. You only get a few, maybe an hour-ish of time where you can catch it before it sets, because it's really low and it starts setting in the sky. Full moons are up all night, middle of the night, you got hours to mess with it. But the problem with full moons is they're not as interesting. It's a very flat looking image, because there's just so much light and there's no definition. There's no angles. When a moon is a crescent or a gibbous moon, we'll talk about moon phases some other time, but you start seeing more detail because there's a sharp edge of light. You see the mountains, you see the craters. Let me throw this image up here. This is one I took in Arizona, I believe. Yeah, Arizona, Tucson area 2 years ago. This is like a really small crescent moon, way more interesting to look at. And gosh, I think this was with a 400 millimeter lens. It wasn't even the best type of optics for it, but you can still see interesting craters right in here. Those would look flat and boring if this was a full moon, those same craters. So I'd say there's just a lot of room to practice on the moon. So highly recommended for moon photography. Be honest, do you own property on the moon? No, I do not. I do not own property because I don't think they sell property. I know there's like maybe even some like, hey, you can name a crater after yourself, but I think those are more of like little like, that's the equivalent of a gift shop trinket, it's like, hey, here's some dirt in a jar from this historic site. It's like, it's probably dirt from across the street. It's not necessarily from this said historic site. It's like, here's a rock from the Grand Canyon. It's like, well, it's not that special because you can just get 1,000 rocks, from right here. I think that's kind of the equivalent. I would like to own something on the moon or in space. Same thing with naming stars. Not quite, that great. It's not recognized by the people who matter, unfortunately. Oh, here's an even slimmer crescent moon. Look at this. This is a 3% illuminated moon. Really, really dim and super fun to shoot. I think the previous one was 7%, which is like the measurement of the illumination, like the percentage of the moon that's lit visually. So 3% of the moon is illuminated. Very, very, very tiny sliver. You can miss it in the night sky if you're not looking for it, which is cool. I think I remember this night I was driving home and I was like, I gotta get home. I just happened to see it over by the horizon. I ran, got my camera, went out to a park, took this shot. Super fun. Great. Let me see if I was forgetting stuff. So yeah, equipment, you can take any of those cameras I mentioned before, mirrorless, DSLR, Astro imaging camera, your phone, and you can get started whenever you want, whenever you want. If you're using a phone, there's some apps out there that let you control your camera settings. A lot of iPhones and Android devices are just automatic. They don't let you adjust the nitty-gritty settings. You can mess with those apps out there that allow you to control that stuff. And you can look up online what it takes to get good settings and for good exposure of the night sky. And you can do a nice wide shot. You can get Milky Way photography done with your phone. Back in June, I was up in Door County doing Milky Way photos with my camera, and ran into a guy I met who was really nice. And he was just a young guy I just love the night sky. I love being out here. And he's like, I don't do photos, but I want to, but all I have is my phone. And I was out there on the beach in the middle of the night shooting photos with my camera, and he was a few feet away shooting photos with his phone. And he got some great stuff. I mean, no, it's not the same and the quality isn't as good, but you're getting astro photos, and that's what matters. And I bet you if that guy kept trying and keeps working on his skill set and keeps improving his gear, he'd make some incredible photos. But you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And I think you can do some really, really cool stuff, just with a smartphone. So maybe do a little research on what settings you need and then download some of those apps, or maybe your phone even has some of those like deep control settings where you can learn how to do that. And all you need is a clear sky, and maybe try to get away from some light pollution. That would help. What would make Mars photogenic? Look for what? Like, let me clarify, Ron, and if you can reply to me, let me know. So like features, like what would you see if you photographed Mars? Is that what you're asking? I've attempted some Mars photos. And let me see if I can find my most recent one. Yeah, right here. I took this photo this year. Or, oh my gosh, it was last year. It was a year ago. Holy smokes. Okay, apparently time flies by a lot faster. This is Mars. Let me see if I can zoom. There we go. So the image quality isn't amazing because, again, it's still so far. But you can, let me send this out of the way here. You can see, land formations. You can see shadows. You can even see polar ice caps on Mars if you take photos of this. And in this photo, you can see a couple of things. You can see the southern polar ice cap, this little white smudge here. You can see just land differences, which ultimately is probably a different composition of Earth, or not Earth. What do they call dirt? It was like, hey, I want to move some Earth here, and it's like, oh, that just means moving dirt. What do you call that on Mars? Hey, I want to move some Mars. Like, why do they do that? I don't know what the proper term for that is. Maybe it's just topsoil there, but you can see darker tones, different compositions there, different heights, topography. And then another thing you can see here on Mars, right up the top on this edge, if you look at the circle part, there's some white. That's the atmosphere. Mars has an atmosphere. It's about 30% of Earth's. It's pretty thin, but it's there, and it will refract light. So you're seeing a little bit of refraction or reflection. This is probably more reflection. It's bouncing back to us. But you can see all of those things on Mars if you capture photos, which is pretty cool. Good question. Is it? Oh, I just closed. There we go. Features like Olympus Mons. Yeah, Olympus Mons is the largest mountain or volcanic mountain in the entire solar system. It's on Mars. It's like, I don't know how many times bigger than Everest. It makes Everest seem small. So if that helps for reference. Yeah, you'd need a bigger telescope. I think if you're imaging at the right time and Mars was rotated at the right angle, maybe you could see it. I'd have to look that up. I'm sure you could probably see something. Hubble, I'm sure, would have no problem seeing that if the Hubble Space Telescope was pointed at Mars. If not, better yet, just go to Mars and go into orbit around it and take a picture out of the window. I think that you have no problem there. How far from civilization do you recommend being for the best lighting? Yeah, good question. So I guess it depends if you're trying to get Milky Way visible in there in your wide field shots. You're trying to do wide angle, like get everything in the shot photography. Milky Way photos are you probably want to get really far away. And I'm talking like desert, over water, stuff like that. Get super rural if you can. I'm like 40 miles away from Chicago, and there's no chance of Milky Way photography here. So if that helps give perspective to people, there's just too much light pollution. Plus a lot of the suburbs have a lot of, parking lot lights and, industry and, like shopping, like commercial realm stuff out there. So, I mean, I would go nowhere near Chicago. Start there. Don't go near Chicago. But anywhere else, like, yeah, try to get in the desert, way into the country. Get high up in the mountains if you can. Getting above the city lights is helpful. You're getting through the air, getting higher into thinner atmosphere. There's less possibility of light bouncing back at you. I've been in Colorado, 12,000 feet up, taking photography. There's still some pollution there, but it's better than if you were at sea level. So make the effort to travel as far away from any city as you can. Hundreds of miles if you can, that'd be the best. But you can still get cool star photos of just stars. You just won't get the Milky Way. If you just go outside your house, even if you're in the city of Chicago, you'll still see stars. You'll still see planets. There'll be something. Yeah, cool. So let's see. Cool. So I'm just going to like hop into my website here. I'm going to show you guys some of my photography, my astrophotography. And for those of you who have just tuned in, or if you're on the stream for the first time, welcome to the Orbital Alliance. Welcome to this YouTube channel where we talk about space. And tonight we're talking about astrophotography, which means taking pictures of space or the night sky. I'm a hobby astrophotographer, and it's my favorite thing to do. So tonight we're talking about what it takes to shoot photos and looking at some of the photos that I've taken. So I'm going to set up my screen here and show you guys some things. Cool. So here we go. Here's my website. And I've got a section here for astrophotography. And the very first image I got on my splash page here is a photo I took of the International Space Station flying over a local park. These white streaks up here, which might be difficult for you guys to see. I'm not sure how the quality looks on your devices, but those are like 15-second exposures of the space station stitched together. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 exposures all in a row, and then stitched into one photo with the landscape, which I thought was beautiful because I love these rocks that are here. I love this shot. So International Space Station photo up top. So here I've got an astrophotography page, and this photo that has here has a Milky Way shot. It's very dim. Let's talk about light pollution here. Back to your question there, Josh. How far away do you have to get? This is in the Tucson area. We're probably about 30 minutes away from downtown Tucson, maybe a little bit more. This is also in the desert. Tucson's not that big, but this big glow out here, that's all city light. And the Milky Way is very faint because of it. It's hard to see it. If I was an hour in the other direction, this would be way more visible. So light pollution is a killer, but again, it's just in the desert here, so you can see something, which helps. So I've got sections here on my website: International Space Station photography, Starscapes, which are Milky Way shots, the moon, of course, self-explanatory, and eclipses. So I've got a section for eclipses. And I was talking about specializations. I haven't really dabbled in deep sky stuff, so I don't have a category for that. Nebulas, galaxies. I've been looking at a lot of videos this week actually about that stuff. I would love to try it. I can do that with this Astro imaging camera that I have. I can try it. I just got to get better at the processing, because those photos actually, you can't do that type of photography without that post-production processing. It's necessary. It's required. You're not just like snapping one picture and you're on with your day. Like, look at this cool nebula. You're taking sometimes hours of photos and combining them all into one. You're flattening them all into one, using data from all of those images and pushing them into one, and then that's your image. It's kind of how that works. So it's maybe a little bit of like, there's some wizardry to it, and I have not spent the time trying to figure that out yet. There's some people out there who do that really, really well. Yeah, I just have these categories for now. So let's go into space station. I've shown you guys some of this stuff before, but I'll just roll through it here. This was a lunar transit, the space station going in front of the moon. This is also the same space station going in front of the moon. This one's smaller and it's silhouetted, so you can only see little black dots here. Mars is also in the shot up to the right. The moon was passing Mars, so there it is up in the corner. Also hard to see, perhaps. Solar transit, this is the sun with the space station going in front of it. And I got a bunch of those here. Here's some still close-ups of the space station pulled from video. And some of them are still shots from one of my cameras. I think this one is. So is this one and this one. And then here's the wide angle ones. We saw this one on the splash page earlier. This one has Comet Neowise in front of it and the reflection here on the water. Shout out to those in Huntley Water Tower. But the space station going up in front. Something I love about this one is the reflectivity of the space station changed over time. And again, I don't know if you guys can see this. Maybe those of you later who are watching on a computer, not a phone. Right about here, there's an increase in brightness in the streak, and that's the space station reflecting more light at me than it was earlier over here or on this side. I thought it's pretty cool. Another space station, long duration exposure space station in the desert, space station going through a basketball hoop almost, airball. Cool. So let's go to Starscapes. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. Any other questions you guys have so far? What are you guys thinking about? I kind of have to do the Tay Day thing from Chocolate Rain, where he like takes a breath away from the mic. But I got to take a drink away from the mic, so I don't like get all slurpy and mouth noises on the microphone here. It's super sensitive. If you guys remember, did I say Purple Rain? I meant Chocolate Rain. Did I say Chocolate Rain? I can't remember. Oh gosh, that's like 2006. I was in high school when Chocolate Rain came out, and I think at one point Tay Day followed me on Twitter. I don't know why, it just happened, and I was super thrilled about that. I wish I could find a way. Let me see if I can see followers. They have to go all the way down to the bottom here. Who knows? This is probably a huge waste of time. I don't know. I can't. If it doesn't show up in the next like major scroll, I'm gonna give up. But do you guys remember Chocolate Rain? I don't know. I don't know when he may have followed me. Maybe he unfollowed me years ago because he probably got annoyed. Man, this guy only thinks about space. Whatever. That's okay. Back to it here. Let's go to the website. Have you ever photographed Jupiter's moons? Josh asks. Yeah. 4 of the Jupiter's moons are super visible. If you're capturing Jupiter, you're basically capturing those moons because they're really bright. They call them the Galilean moons, which was because Galileo himself, famous astronomer, kind of discovered them. He was the first to really take a good look at them, and then I think he named them after his daughters, Ganymede, Callisto, Io, and I always forget the last one. Gosh, someone check me on that. The 4 Galilean moons. Remind me of the 4th one, but yeah, you can see those. Jupiter has like 60 moons. By moons, it's like ranging from huge things to like tiny little asteroids that just happen to be captured. NASA's got those named. A lot of the probes that have been around Jupiter have taken pictures of those. So I'm not sure if you can see many more than those 4 moons if you're trying to take a picture of them. But yeah, you can definitely capture those. And I've captured some shots of that. Actually, I think I have one handy here. This is a slightly crummy image that I took in 2020 of the Great Conjunction as Jupiter passed Saturn, which conjunction is in the night sky when 2 objects from our point of view, they're not actually passing each other, just from our point of view. It's like parallax. Jupiter passed Saturn in the sky, and it was super close. In the same frame, you can get shots of them. So this was one of the shots I got. Not that great, but you can see the little dots. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4 are right next to each other. You can see 4, and this is Jupiter here on the bottom, Saturn up top with its rings. Yeah, that's an example. There are better examples out there, that's for sure. Here's an identifier. I think Callisto, Ganymede, Io, Europa. That's it. They're named after Jupiter's mistresses, actually in Roman mythology. Trust me, I know my Rome. That's true. Okay, well, I'll take Josh's word for it. I don't know who told me wrong all those years ago that they were named after his daughters. Okay, well then they're named after Roman mythology. Thanks for the check on that. I was incorrect. But here you go. This is which moon was which in the given shot. Super cool event. That was Christmas last year that happened, the week of Christmas. There's some more shots, but cool. Let's get back to the website. So here's some Milky Way shots. So let's talk about this one because these are probably going to be the most like manageable and less technical to talk about. Let's see, how are we doing time? Oh my goodness, it's 9:11. We're really rolling. That's okay. If it's feeling good for you guys, I'm gonna keep rolling here. So I've got a little slider here showing you some Milky Way photography. This is one from Door County where I was talking about. I met that guy on the beach who's taking phone pictures. This is my picture that I took from the beach. It's a combo of two photos, one to expose the ground, one to expose the sky. I combined them in post in the end, sandwiched them together. There is a bonus Jupiter here on the left and Saturn just above the rocks, the log here, which I thought was cool that each log pointed to a planet here in this picture. And you can also see the reflection of Jupiter in the water on Lake Michigan here, which I thought was pretty cool. And of course, the Milky Way Galaxy here. I probably shouldn't have assumed that everybody knows what the Milky Way is, but let's just clarify that. That is the name of our galaxy, which we are in. So if there's kind of a 360-degree view of this cluster of dust and stars and light and gas that you can just see in the night sky if you're far enough away from city light. So there's the Milky Way. This is the galactic center. So the center of our galaxy is the brightest, most visible. There's a lot of dense, super bright stars. There's also some black holes up in there. Crazy place to be. Yeah, it's a beautiful place and beautiful to see, especially if you can get an image of it. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate the love for that photo. It was super fun to try and tackle. I just knew the right shot was happening when I was out there doing it. Gosh, I don't know. It was maybe 1, 2, 2:30 in the morning. We stayed up all night. It was on a beach. It was just me, my partner who was with me as we were going out doing photos, and that other guy who we met out there. Just did this whole beach to ourselves. You just hear the waves coming in, and you had this crystal clear night sky above you. Unbelievable. So yeah, what you want to do with astrophotography with a camera like this, a mirrorless or a DSLR camera, is you want to put it on a tripod. You want to have a remote so that you don't touch the camera, so you can take your pictures without shaking the camera. And I use a wireless one, so I got a little receiver on the top, and then I use a remote to snap pictures. There are 3 parameters for a still photo, and this accounts for video too. There's called ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. And those are kind of like, you kind of have to figure out the right settings for each of those to create your image. And as you do more photography, you get a better understanding of each of those things. And certain scenarios call for, more of one and less of the other, or more of all of them or less of all of them. It's kind of up to you and what you want to do, and also the environment you're in. When you're shooting night sky photography, you're in minimal light. And especially when you get further away from places, literally the only light you have is starlight, which is super dim. The moon would be super bright if it was out, but you kind of don't want to be on a full moon night when you're doing Milky Way photography because it kind of pollutes the sky with light. It's you really want to make sure that you have a good understanding of each of those 3 parameters and see how they affect one another. And then when you're working with minimal light, you got to do your best to figure out what that means. So natively, your shutter speed, the middle one there, you're talking about opening the shutter on the camera to reveal light to the sensor. So if you have minimal light, you want to gather as much as possible. So your camera sensor needs to read the light in your environment to take a picture. That becomes your picture. And the longer you open that shutter, the more light sears that image in there. But again, the problem is with stars is technically they're moving. The Earth is spinning, the stars remain still, and you have that issue of stars creating streaks. So you kind of got to find the right balance between how many seconds you want to leave that open before the stars start appearing as lines and not as pinpoints. So typically that's somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds. 30 is pushing it, maybe 25 seconds. So these Milky Way, I'm hearing a siren. Sorry, I was like wondering what that was in my ear. It's a firefighter or something driving by. So hopefully you guys can't hear that, but you want to leave that shutter open, let it burn, but then you want to also balance your ISO, which is your
gain on your camera sensor. They also kind of loosely related to the sensitivity. You boost that gain up to gather more light. The sensor basically is like opening its eyes wider. It's kind of the equivalent of that. If you have a lower sensitivity or lower gain, it's like closing your eyes and not seeing as much light. But if you open your eyes wide open, it's like, whoa, there's so much light here. And then aperture is a part of your lens. It's kind of like the iris in your eye. It opens and closes with a certain amount of light. So you want to open that all the way up. Let as much light as possible. You don't want to put shutters on this because you're already limiting yourself enough by being in the dark. So figure out the right balance between all those and you get a photo like this. Not too difficult. That information is pretty easy to find. But you have to, once you get out there, if you're trying to get your first shots, just take a bunch of shots, practice with the settings, see how they affect one another, see what turns out better. No one can give you a prescribed group of settings for you and your camera and your environment with your conditions. You got to figure that out for yourself. But there's some good starting points out there. This is, I think, possibly one of my all-time favorite photos I've ever taken, period. This was in Colorado in 2018. And this is, of course, the Milky Way. And then there's a ridge line here where my wife's stepdad here, he's the guy who went with me to the last place in Door County. We do astrophotography together. He was on the ridge with his camera on a tripod. And I said, hey, stay up there. I'm going to take one more shot before we go home. And I took this shot where he's silhouetted. The light of Denver is kind of behind, illuminating a little bit. And also the Milky Way behind him. You know, it was such a cool moment. And I have this, I can't really show you because my camera is, locked in on my tripod, but on the wall right here, I have it on a canvas, like a 30-inch canvas up here, and I printed it because I just love it so much. It's just such a poster kind of feeling for it. So I was super proud of that shot. Again, it's, probably a 25-second exposure. So let that image burn for 20 seconds and you get something like this. Just moving on, kind of playing through here is Tucson again. Look at that glow behind this really cool mountain out in the middle of the desert, just chilling. It was flat except for this one mountain. I was like, we got to get behind that. And I found this saguaro cactus here. Looks like what are those knives? Those like ancient Asian knives? Are they sais or like, is that the right word? I feel like there's anyone know their nerd mythology out there? Let me know. Where I lost my thing here. It does kind of look like that, but this glow way back here, that's Tucson. That's city light. Pretty crazy. Also got a cloud line out here to the left. So that's what clouds would look like if you took a shot like this. Dead tree out in the middle of the desert, also in Tucson, but city light, nuking it behind it. But I thought this one looked really cool because the city light behind it helped make this tree look more defined. If it was dark behind that tree, it would blend in with the background. It would be more of a silhouette, harder to see. So I think this one turned out pretty well because of the light. It was able to use it. Yes, it is a sai. Thank you. Thanks, Josh, for confirming. Another saguaro cactus. I shined a light on this cactus. I had a little it's the one I'm using right now to light myself up here. This one up here. But I used it to light the cactus as I took an exposure in the desert. Super cool. It was a fun story about this. We were out there we were literally in a state park. We bought a campsite just to get in the steak park. Do they make steak parks? Because I would love to go to a steak park and just eat steak and take space photos. That sounds great. Let's make that happen. Let's make that a thing. We were out here in the middle of the night and we started smelling a skunk. And we both were like panicked, like keep an eye out, don't spook a skunk. That would be, I didn't know skunks were in deserts until later we read something that actually the smell of skunk in the desert means javelinas. And I did not know what a javelina was, but then later I learned that means that's a wild boar, a pig. I suppose if I'm rambling too much, I become a wild boar. That's a pun. Sorry. But javelinas are out there and they have a really distinct smell. They kind of smell like skunks. And you do not want to get in the way of a javelina in the desert because they are very violent and dangerous, apparently. So that was freaky to learn after the fact, but that was happening as this shot was being taken. So that was a fun fact. But it was cool to be in the middle of the desert at midnight or whatever. It was pretty neat. This is Colorado. The Milky Way is not in this shot. It's just stars and the silhouette of trees. And I love this. I don't know if this happened, but I got asked about this photo once. Someone asked if they could have it because they wanted to get it tattooed on their body. I kid you not. I know that's something that usually happens with like celebrities who get their characters like tattooed on people. But this, someone's like, I've been looking for just the right shot that depicts like how I like seeing the night sky with trees or something. And, as I go motorcycle riding through the night, and this picture is exactly what I was thinking of. Can I use it? And I don't know if it happened. I need to find out. I should ask him if he ended up getting the tattoo. I never saw a final image, but I did send it to him. He asked me over email, and I did forward it to him, and this is it. So this is a funny story about that. But this was cool. Just night sky. Here's more Colorado. This is in Loveland Pass. Where that same silhouette photo with the guy on the ridge with his camera. This is the same ridge, but just at a higher altitude here. More city light on the horizon. That's Denver. Also Colorado. Another mountain in the foreground. This is Tucson. I've done a lot of, those are my big ones, Colorado and Tucson, like the Denver, Breckenridge area. And this is a dark sky park. There's some clouds coming in, which made for a really cool texture on the night sky. No Milky Way in the shot. This is a different direction. And I don't think it had risen yet. This was pretty close, pretty soon after sunset. But I loved the leading lines here from the power lines. Very, very cool. Was very wary of rattlesnakes in the desert here in Tucson because they just chill. And after the sun goes down, they just, they're all supercharged from the sun laying in the desert. They just, sunbathe, and I did not want to step on one. It was pretty freaky. I loved this picture too. That's me. That's my silhouette. I thought the shape of the mountains here in this valley really made a cool shape, and I wanted to be right in the middle of it because the leading lines point you right to the person. So I set my camera up. I set the timer on it to go take the picture in 10 seconds and then burn a picture for 20 seconds. So I clicked it, ran away, stepped in front, and stood there with the pose for like 20 seconds plus the extra 10 for the picture. And then I was like, okay, I think it's done. And then I walk away, check it. I remember doing it a bunch of times. The funny part is I'm wearing a winter hat because it was really cold and we were up in the mountains. There's snow around us. And from this perspective, I think my wife said that I looked like Gumby, which is true. The way I was like looking off to the side, and the point of my like snowball beanie made it look like I was Gumby here, the shape of my head. So I can't unsee it now that I've seen it, but still a really cool picture. This is the house we stayed at in Tucson. So we decided to take a picture of the Milky Way behind it and print it on metal and gift it to the house, the people that we stayed at. It's a friend of a friend kind of thing. And we gifted to them, and it hangs on the wall in their house, this picture. So we did an exposure for the house and exposure for the sky, combined them in post-production, and that's this photo here. Oops, what did I do here? Sorry about that. Realign this here for you. There we go. So I think it's a really cool picture. You got a little cactus in the ground. Kayla says, I don't remember saying it, but I do agree with it. Thank you. Well, I'm going to give you the credit. I'm pretty sure it was you. That was a couple years ago now, so I wouldn't blame you if you forgot. Hey, here's the Pleiades. This is a dark sky shot. This is Venus is the bright part, but it was going past. This is also a conjunction. I was talking about conjunctions in the night sky. Objects passing each other. From our perspective on Earth. Venus last year passed the Pleiades, or early this year. I can't remember now. But there's a star cluster, and then there's Venus. Pretty cool. And that was taken just from my front porch, actually. This last photo here, taken from my front porch. All that's super visible to the naked eye anyway, so you don't need to get away from the city lights. Cool silhouette of a tree. No Milky Way. Just more starscapes. This photo was one of the first like wow photos I feel like I took for myself early on. This is an older photo. I was on a farm up in rural Wisconsin, dabbling with long exposures. I'd never really done it too well. No Milky Way photos up to this point, but I had a friend hold a headlamp up, and it like sent a glow into the night sky. It lit the tree up. There's 2 satellites in the image. There's little streaks here. I thought it was a really cool photo. But now that I look at it now, years later, I'm like, it's cool, but not that great, you know? But that's just me speaking. Still cool photo. Here's more. Oh, look at this. Here's another, just a starscape. But down in the corner, there's a silo here. This is a farm. The Pleiades is just coming over the horizon. I can't zoom in here for you guys. I'm sorry. The way my website scales, it doesn't make the pictures larger, but pretty cool. The farmhouse, like in the shot, just more of that same place, just more starscapes, and then we're back to the beginning. So there you have it. Starscapes are super cool. Just another type of astrophotography that you can take. Let's see. Okay, yeah, let's just keep rolling. Let me bounce back here to the camera. Good to see you guys up close again. I think we've kind of maintained the same viewership just about throughout the stream. But guys, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me tonight. Hopefully you guys are hanging in here and not getting bored. And maybe hopefully you're learning something. Oh, while I'm thinking of it, I was talking with some family at Thanksgiving, and shout out to Aunt B. If you're out there. I know she said she watches the stream on her own later. She can't watch Wednesday nights, so she said she listens to it in the car. So hey, if you're watching this in the future, Aunt B, thinking about you, send me a question. Text me a question, and I'll put it in the next stream. But yeah, thanks for watching. Cool. So let me prepare some next stuff. Let's go back to moon photography. Earth's moon. So up here in my banner, I've got a little sliver, but over here on the right in the same image in this background, it kind of is hard to see. You can see Venus, I think, on the right. There's a little dot, all in the same picture. Just use it to surround my title here. I've taken quite a few pictures of the moon in different phases. So here's full. Here's like a waning or a waxing gibbous moon. Slightly less illuminated, almost at a first quarter. Here's about a first quarter moon. And then here's a waxing crescent. We've seen this picture before. This is another waxing crescent. This is a really cool picture. It's called Earth Shine. So what's happening here is I bumped the exposure way more than I needed to. This is an early crescent moon, but technically the Earth is bouncing light back to the moon and illuminating the surface so much that you can pick that up with a camera. And this is what that is. So if that makes sense, if I underexpose this picture, you would only this bright part would be resolved. You'd see the craters, you'd see the moon. It would look kind of like this. But if I really boost my camera settings, this part becomes overexposed, the bright part, to look like this, and the dark part actually starts showing up detail because there's enough light there that the camera can detect it. And I know I boosted this in post-production too, but that shows up and you can actually see it. So and actually has even a little bit of a blue hue, which is cool because it's Earth light. And the Earth is mostly water, which is, got blue light refracted into it, making it a pure blue, and boom, you got Earth shine. So light from the sun hitting the Earth, hitting the moon, coming back to my camera. It's like a pinball session, but with light. Pretty cool. I was out doing space station photography once, super early, like 4 a.m, and the moon was rising. This is to the east, and it was in clouds. And this is some tree branches here. I could not help myself but take a picture here. Really, really cool. Super orange. The whole sky was orange because of the moon. Really cool. Loved that shot. Yeah, and this is the full moon. So we're back at the top. Really cool. Moon is fun. Good place to start. Here's a good, you can see a lot of details in the crater. The crater ranges here that you couldn't see in the full moon because that's all illuminated. It looks flat and boring. Whereas here you get angles, pretty neat. All right. And let's bounce back here. Last section. And we kind of looked at some of this already because we talked about the eclipse last week. Lunar eclipse and solar eclipses. I've done more lunar eclipses because they're a little bit easier to do and tend to have fallen more in my area. So there's been more opportunities to do lunar eclipses. So here's one from recently, a week and a half ago. Same thing. Night sky, stars behind it. the wide field shot of the Pleiades cluster, we got a meteor streak, the lunar eclipse there. Wide field shot, you got Orion, the whole constellation right here. You got the lunar eclipse, Pleiades again. Partial solar eclipse. Only caught a little bit of it. This is the Pac-Man shot from last week. Gonna do the ceremonial Waka Waka. This is that same eclipse, but I captured a seagull flying in front of it. It's a different type of exposure too. So you can't see the tree line, but there's actually a seagull in front of it. I got a transit of a seagull. Sorry, space station, get out of the way. Seagull is taking the spotlight. This is a wider angle shot of that same partial solar eclipse. Reflection in the water, 5 a.m. sunrise, some wispy clouds in the distance. Amazing moment. This was in Arizona, in Phoenix. There was a full lunar eclipse in the morning. Went up and got some palm trees right in the front. So palm trees in Arizona. Lunar eclipse, fully red down here. I was trying so hard to get it to look like a coconut on the tree. That was my goal for this one, and I just couldn't pull it off. I couldn't get in the right place. It kind of more looked like a coconut falling from the tree. Here's the same lunar eclipse. I was using a 300 millimeter lens for this, and for specificity on that, focal length is determined by millimeters with cameras and telescopes, and that determines how far you can see, like the zoom essentially. Lower numbers like 14 millimeters, 18 millimeters, 24 are really wide for perspective. Super full night sky shots. 300, 400, 600, 1000 millimeters, super zoomed in. Really zoomed in images. So this is like 300, maybe even 200 to get the shot, the trees in the shot. Not that close, not close enough, but close. And then I think these are the last few here. A solar eclipse of 2017, the Great American Eclipse. I only got partial eclipse pictures. This was through my telescope. I was just starting to figure out how to use, these adapters and stuff, and I couldn't quite get sharp images out of it. It was a bit funky. But I got something, and a cloud came right in the way of the full solar eclipse moment. So I missed it. The 10 minutes that it happened, I got a cloud in the way, so I didn't get any pictures of that, but this was as close as I got. Almost. I was so close. But cool. So there you have it. Those are kind of the best of my Astro photos. What am I working on now is probably what I'm thinking about is I did the lunar eclipse photography. I would love to continue to do Milky Way photography and get better at that. See some more exotic locations to put in the foreground, because it's easy to just get grass or hills, but things like cactus and water, reflections, things like that, monuments, special objects of significance, I would really love to put in the foreground. Greg, I see your emojis, your moon faces there. I love it. It looks like we've got a waxing crescent, a third quarter moon, and a waning gibbous moon. Nice. I love it. Shout out to the chat. How are we doing here? Nice. Okay. Yeah. So I think I would like to focus on that. I'm continuing to try to improve my planetary photography and to get better at processing images. Let me pull up some of those really quick. I know I have some handy. Here's a more recent Saturn picture that I've taken. This is on Facebook. I'm gonna zoom in. Just weird there. So this Saturn, this is video taken with this camera, the red camera. And I smashed them all and flattened them onto one picture. But you can see the rings, you can see the planet, you can see cloud bands on the cloud, you can see the gap in the rings, the Cassini division, I think they call that, in the rings. There's differential rings, you see different colors. And my favorite part of this is you can see the shadow cast from the planet on the rings behind it. Really cool. Super grainy image, and I just I don't quite understand the processing side of it yet. This is the best I could do. Also, my imaging was probably not that great. So weather plays a factor. distance to Saturn plays a factor, and how many pictures and how many good pictures that you've taken determine what sort of quality you get in your final image. So there's an example there. I already showed you Mars, a lot of birds. Here's some like, July 2019. I did a little like infographic. There's Jupiter on the left and Saturn on the right. As you see, look at that picture of Saturn. It's a fuzzy blur. That's a still image compared to what we were looking at before. Pretty different. So I want to take that same step, but forward, you know. Yeah, I think that's about it there. So yeah, and as always, I will always be doing International Space Station photography. That is just my jam. I would love to just keep getting better at that. So that's the number one goal for me, is to improve my space station photography and go from there. The space station is changing because they're always adding modules and the physical shape of it. So it's getting more interesting over time. And I think it'll be cool to have a sort of a catalog of imagery that I've taken from, 5 years ago to 5 years from now, when it looks very different. And no one can take that away from me unless my computers all crash and all my hard drives burn. But, it's cool to sort of see, you can get a progression of how things change over time with astrophotography. Super fun. So we'll probably wrap it up here. Unless you guys have any other final questions, I'll move on to the homework section, but shoot them in the chat if you got questions. I'll do one more plug here for the channel. I don't think anyone new is on. I think I only see 4 viewers, but if you're watching later, I appreciate you guys checking out the stream. Welcome to the Orbital Alliance YouTube channel. My name is Nick, and I just want to say thank you for watching. Thanks for being willing to learn about space. And in this case, tonight, we're talking about astrophotography, the basics and some of the experiences I've had. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you'll get notifications for all the upcoming videos we got in the pipeline. Our weekly streams at 8 p.m. Central Time in the United States. Be sure to tune into all of those. Would appreciate your subscribership if you are willing. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for watching. If you are watching this in the future, when this gets available on replay on the channel, be sure to check out the other streams too. There's some fun conversations there. Yeah, cool. So let's go to the homework. I'm going to pull up my notes. Homework is probably the wrong word for it. But it's just the best that I got. Cool. So I mentioned in the earlier stream, at the end of every stream, I'm going to try to include a section where I recommend different forms of media, books, music, movies that for you to watch, read, listen to, so that you can just be thinking and feeling space a little bit more. So all space related stuff. So let's start with the book. This book I've read a couple years ago, The Ordinary Spaceman by Clayton Anderson. Let me hold up a little closer for you. This book is like 400 pages, something like that. 300, 340, 350. Really great read. It's kind of like a biography or like a memoir of Clayton Anderson, who is a retired NASA astronaut. He is a very experienced astronaut. He's flown at least once, if not twice. I think twice. I can't remember now. But he has a very interesting story that's unique from a lot of astronauts. And that point is that he applied to be a NASA astronaut 15 times before he got accepted. And I don't know if you know anything about applying to be a NASA astronaut. It's really hard. It is super hard to become a NASA astronaut. I think they only do selections every 2 years, if that. Some years they've skipped. And they only pick a handful, maybe somewhere between 10 and 40 or 10 and 30 people. If that, some are bigger classes, some are smaller classes, and they do this huge outreach, and thousands of people apply. And these are people who are not just like off the street, like, oh yeah, I worked at McDonald's, I want to be an astronaut. These are people who have master's degrees, PhDs on top of PhDs, people who are in the military, who have huge military careers, people who worked in government, people who are teachers, they've got tons of experience in their fields. These are the best of the best who are applying for this. And you're up against, 10,000, almost 20,000 people at a time to get a shot at maybe 10, 15, 20 spots. Clayton Anderson applied 15 times. So you're talking over however many years, and he finally got it. Perseverance at its best. And that book, The Ordinary Spaceman, documents it. he's the kind of guy who kind of tells it like it is. He has a very forward attitude and mentality, maybe a little bit more so than other astronauts, but doesn't mean he's any less of an astronaut. He just tells it like it is, and I think that is kind of his strength, and maybe it was perhaps a reason why he got in. But highly recommended. It's a very fun book, and talks a lot about the good stuff and even some of the hard stuff, like when the Columbia disaster happened. I remember reading that and hearing about his perspective in there. So pretty good book. So highly recommended. And then movie. I don't have a physical copy this week for this one, but I am going to recommend a movie for you that is fully space related. You're actually in space the whole movie. It is the movie Passengers. Have you guys seen it? It has Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, and I've seen this movie twice now, and it's actually becoming one of my favorites. It's a really, really fun movie. The gist of it is it's so far in the future that humans are going to other stars to live on other planets, but it takes hundreds of years to get there. So they go on these giant ships, they have sleep pods, and they go to sleep and they wake up in another world. It's essentially the goal. And they start new civilizations. They come with livestock and building materials and all the building blocks for starting a new life on another planet. It's kind of like a vacation cruise ship, but way longer. Well, the plot is Chris Pratt's character wakes up like 90 years too soon, and everyone else is still asleep. The hundreds of people still asleep. And he starts going insane, and he has to learn how to like live with the fact that he's probably going to die before anyone else wakes up because he can't go back to sleep. So really cool premise. And I love the idea of going to different stars. It's totally fiction right now. I hope it's reality one day. But this movie really depicts that really well. There's a love story. There's sort of a lot of other factors that come into play there, but great movie, super fun. And really intense too. There's a lot of tension. Got some chat stuff here. Greg, great work, always entertaining and educational. Thank you. I appreciate that, Greg. And then Josh, love that movie. Yeah. More support for Passengers. We got endorsement from the chat. My voice is starting to tire out. Sorry, guys. Almost done. And then the last thing, music. This week, I'm going to recommend a soundtrack to you. Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to recommend the original soundtrack to the documentary Planetary. And the artist is Human Suits. Kind of like suit and tie, Human Suits. This is one of the most emotional space soundtracks I've ever heard. Really peaceful and also filled with heartbreak and dissension, like kind of like this excuse me, I don't know, it's just really like if you're alone and thinking this is a good album to listen to. There's some hopeful moments, some wondrous moments, and some really sad moments. It's all instrumental. The documentary was interesting. I've watched it a couple times. I don't quite fully get the premise, so to speak, or maybe I just don't identify with it, but the soundtrack was amazing. And I still listen to it when I can, and it's highly recommended to you now. I'm trying to think of what the theme was. They were making a claim, these kind of experts in different fields making the claim that humanity is going through a massive extinction event right now. Maybe they're right. I just don't know. I'm not informed enough, but it was a pretty bold claim. And I'm not sure it was like formed enough of an idea to really drive the point home in this documentary. But again, soundtrack was amazing. So I'd recommend the first track, Space and Earth. And I can't remember what some of the other ones. Yeah, so the first two were like amazing. Some of them get a little bit more like emotional. There's some good stuff in there. So maybe if you just want to zone out or you're journaling, that's a good one to go to. So Planetary original soundtrack. I know it's on YouTube, on YouTube Music. It's probably somewhere else too. I think years ago I bought it on iTunes, but that feels like ancient to say at this point. So yeah, let's see here. Cool. So those are my recommendations. The Ordinary Spaceman. Read that book. Passengers. Watch that movie. Planetary. Original soundtrack by Human Suits. Listen to that. Those are my things. Fill yourself up with space. Be surrounded by it. Live in it. And eventually your heart will start seeking more to learn more. So that's it. Let's see. Final thoughts. Oh yeah, this is great. We're just gonna keep rolling here to the end here. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I even shot content for this in a video that I never used from, I think, the spring or the summer. I've been looking at ways to do contests here on the channel, or giveaways. That's probably a better way. Giveaways. And I have some ideas that I want to start working on. And I'll probably start pushing those things, in the next couple of weeks. In particular, because in January, early January, this will be 1 year that the channel has existed. And I think that's worth celebrating. And to celebrate, I want to get you guys involved. I want to actually start doing giveaways. So I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek. Those of you who stuck around an hour and 45 minutes into the stream, I'm going to show you one of the things I'm going to give away. And I've had this for a long time. Actually, I showed you guys this, I think, last week. Launch Pins makes these really cool pins. International Space Station pins. They make rocket pins. They make mission patch pins, rocket engine pins, everything. Really beautiful metal pins. I'm going to hold up closer. I love the Space Station one, so I got that. But when I bought this, I bought two with the intention of giving one away. So here's one new in the package. Launch pins, another space station. So I've got two. Here's one in the package, one out of the package. But one day I'm going to find out how to give it away. But I'm going to give this one away. One of you guys could be the lucky winner for your very own International Space Station metal pin. Josh, I will accept your Funkos as a giveaway. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. It's worth an ask. Aim for the stars. Maybe you'll land on the moon. So keep that in mind, you guys. Giveaways are coming up. And I would love to celebrate 1 year on the channel in 1 month. So cool. Well, before my voice completely disappears, I'm going to sign off and do the usual plug here at the end. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for those of you on the stream, thanks for watching all of this, for spending your Wednesday night with us. For most of you who are watching, thank you for spending every Wednesday night with us so far. If you're watching this after the fact on the replay, I appreciate you, again, spending the time to watch even a portion of this, if not all of it. And if you are new at the channel, the Orbital Alliance, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, like the video if you enjoyed it, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. You'll get notified on your phone when a new video gets posted, and when I am live on live streams every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central Time in the United States. So that should be it. Thank you guys very much. And we'll have to think of a topic for next time. I have not planned that far out quite yet, but I was really excited to do astrophotography. But if you have suggestions, leave them in the comments or send them in the chat real quick before we sign off here, and hopefully I'll see it before I close it. But live next Wednesday. I don't know what we're going to do about the holidays as we get closer to Christmas. Christmas is on a weekend, so we should be okay. I should be streaming through the holidays, but as far as I'm concerned, every Wednesday night. If I don't stream, I'll be sure to post to social media, say, hey, no stream tonight. We'll be back the following week, but that's not the case right now. So see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Thank you, Orbiters. It was great to hang out with you guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble. And with that, I will see you all on the other side.